Today on Motorz, Chris is going to show you how to swap an engine in an '87 Mustang.
Presented by AMP Research.
Hey, welcome to Motorz. Today we're going to continue to work on Project Black Mamba. I'm going to show you how to do an engine swap using a ready-to-run crate motor from BluePrint engines that produce 392 horsepower and 398 foot-pounds of torque on their dyno before they shipped it to us. Now it comes ready to be installed in an 86 to 93 Ford Mustang, but before we pull out our old 302 that gave us over 200,000 miles, let's take a closer look at BluePrint engines. BluePrint Engines was started 20 years ago, and like Motorz, what started out as a hobby in a small garage turned into a full-fledged business. Their founder built one engine at a time for friends and neighbors, and then things just took off. BluePrint Engines now produces high-performance engines for racers, rodders, and factory replacement engines for cars and light trucks. Every engine is dyno tested and doesn't leave their factory without including a printout of the results. BluePrint produces GM, Ford, and Chrysler engines, as well as their Pro Series, which offers big performance and big displacement. Their complete engines for automotive come with a 30-month or 50,000-mile warranty. Check out their complete line of engines at blueprintengines.com. Now for the engine swap, you're going to need an engine hoist as well as an engine stand, some drain pans and rags, as well as a fluid evacuator, a master disconnect set, a torque wrench, a breaker bar, crescent wrenches, diagonal cutters, a bunch of pry bars. You're also going to need some electric and air tools and a whole bunch of common tools that Olivia's got right over here.
You're going to need a number of wrenches and screwdrivers, various ratchets, sockets, and long extensions, some swivel adapters, safety glasses, gloves, and on this project, Chris, you're going to need a friend.
Definitely. Now we'll be right back after this break with more Motorz.
It just never ends with you. I feel like if it's not one thing, it's another. Well, that ends today.
The Craftsman C3 line. One battery, more than 30 tools, and the power to tackle any job that stands in your way.
You're welcome.
The C3 line from Craftsman. Get the new, more powerful XCP battery. Now runs up to 4 times longer. Craftsman. Trust in your hands.
Now before we can remove our stock 302, first we have to remove our radiator, our battery, our cold air intake kit, and on this vehicle we also have a strut tower brace to remove. Then disconnect all our hoses, fuel lines, and accessories. Now once we're done with that, we can disconnect the exhaust and transmission. But to make the removal a whole lot easier, the first thing that we're going to do is pop off the hood. After removing the hood, we used our fluid evacuator to remove the coolant from the radiator. The disassembly started by removing the strut tower brace, battery, and cold air intake. Next, we removed the upper and lower radiator hoses and, of course, the radiator. Disconnect the coolant, vacuum, and electrical connections from the EGR spacer, then remove the throttle body, and finally, the spacer. Unbolt the AC compressor and move it out of the way. Then remove the front accessory bracket, the power steering pump, and set it aside. Remove the alternator and intake plenum, but first you're going to need to remove this trim piece. Then remove the belt tensioner and smog pump. Pull the distributor cap and wires out of the way, remove the starter, exhaust, and unbolt the engine mounts. Use an engine hoist to remove the engine. We also used a load leveler to make it a lot easier. We removed our old motor mounts, and then using a fuel injection quick disconnect tool, we disconnected our fuel rail. Now, since our stock 302 has over 200,000 miles on it, a lot of those parts are either worn out or just need to be replaced. So PerformanceParts.com hooked us up with all this new stuff. That includes a cold air intake, ignition coil, new spark plug wires, fuel injectors, new engine mounts, an EGR plate, alternator, throttle body, a water pump, and a new distributor. Hedman Headers hooked us up with these beautiful new ceramic-coated shorty headers to replace our old crusty factory headers. Now, the biggest differences between our factory headers and our new ones from Hedman is that they're ceramic-coated, so they're going to stay looking great and stay running cool. The other big difference is because of the mandrel bent tubing, it's going to prevent all this crimping that's going on here, and that's going to give us better flow. We dropped in our new distributor and fuel injectors while it was on the engine stand. The injectors just push down into the intake manifold, and the fuel rails push down on top of those. Well, we've installed everything we can on our engine prior to putting it into our vehicle. That includes the fuel rails and injectors, the distributor, water pump, and hoses. Now, the next thing to do is put it up on our engine hoist so that we can install a pilot bearing, flywheel, and clutch, and as we drop it into the vehicle, we can install our headers. We used a large socket and dead blow hammer to install the pilot bearing. Then we installed the dust plate and flywheel, torquing the flywheel to 75 foot-pounds. Install the clutch and pressure plate using a clutch alignment tool to line up the clutch disc, and then torque the pressure plate to 24 foot-pounds. Now, since we picked up some new motor mounts from PerformanceParts.com, we installed those next. With the engine bay prepped, carefully lower and align the engine into place. It's not a bad idea to have a buddy or two to help you out. We've got our motor dropped into our engine bay, and it's hooked up to the bell housing with just a couple of bolts. So we got to finish bolting that up. Now we can start installing all of our accessories, wiring, and hoses. We used copper spray gasket on both sides of our header gaskets to promote a better seal before installing our new Hedman headers. Like all Hedman headers, our set is made in the USA, and they're backed up by a lifetime warranty. Now, the set we're installing has Hedman's ceramic metallic coating. It's part number 88606, which will keep the underhood temperatures down, and you have to admit, they look pretty awesome. Now, if you're really on a shoestring budget, you can also pick them up uncoated. That's part number 88600. Check out Hedman.com for more information. With the headers in, reinstall the starter and reattach the exhaust and oxygen sensor. Install the power steering pump and accessory bracket. Then install the AC compressor and belt tensioner. Now, one of the things that we discovered when reinstalling our pulleys is that our crank pulley didn't line up with our water pump pulley. So to fix the problem, we went to our local auto parts store and ordered this 0.95-inch spacer. We also need to get some 1-inch longer bolts as well. And now it's time to drop that radiator back in there. Install the smog pump, alternator, and reconnect the alternator wiring. Reconnect the upper and lower radiator hoses, then fill your radiator back up. Install the spark plugs and spark plug wires, and be sure to put some anti-seize on those plugs and some dielectric grease in the plug boot so they're easy to remove next time around. Refer to your repair manual for the correct firing order. Now before we installed the plenum, we made a vacuum manifold to retain factory emissions. Then we installed our new EGR plate and throttle body, then reconnected the coolant lines, vacuum, and electrical. We installed our new cold air intake kit and ignition coil, then reinstalled our drive belt. We've got our motor installed and everything's hooked up, including that battery, but there's one last thing that we haven't yet hooked up, and that's our ignition coil wire. And the reason why we haven't hooked that up yet is because we want to crank the engine a few times to prime the engine with oil. And once we've done that a few times, then we can hook up our ignition coil and let it rip. After you prime the motor, reconnect the coil wire and start her on up. Your new engine will require some timing adjustments and fine tuning, and after break-in, check all the bolts to make sure everything's still secure. Unplug the timing plug connector, then use a timing light to set the engine timing. We use the RPM function to set our engine idle speed. Our old battery was due for an upgrade, and since we upgraded our engine with more power, we decided to upgrade our battery with more power from excess power.
Parts brought to you by Craftsman at Sears.
Now, swapping out your brake pads needs to be done on a regular basis, and doing it yourself is fairly easy and can save you a ton of cash. But it can actually be even easier thanks to this Craftsman heavy-duty disc pad spreader. It handles both single and dual piston applications and lets you easily compress both pistons at once, saving you up to 30 minutes per job. Its smooth action pushes against the inner disc brake pad to correctly reset the pistons. And now this sliding bolt makes for an easy transition between single and dual piston applications. Now if you've got a late model Ford or GM front-wheel drive car or an E-Series or F-Series vehicle from Ford, this is a must-have tool for your brake jobs, especially with that famous Craftsman lifetime warranty. Now for more information, go to sears.com/tools or check out the parts page at our website. There are so many different types of car covers available from Covercraft, and we've covered a few of their outdoor covers on our show already. But what if you've got a ride that is a little bit more pampered and is primarily stored inside? Well, they've got you covered there too. This Dust Stop indoor car cover is as soft as flannel and provides you with maximum protection against dust. Its multi-layer construction provides way better dust protection compared to a traditional woven material. There's a soft but strong outer layer followed by a dust barrier, then Covercraft's softest paint protecting inner layer, which is designed to pamper and protect your vehicle's finish. Now here I am putting the Dust Stop cover on our 2010 Ford Mustang GT project vehicle. Like all their covers, it's easy to put on, remove, stow away. It looks great and it fits perfectly. It comes with a 4-year warranty and is available in a taupe color. Now for more information, head on over to covercraft.com or check out the parts page at our website. Having a brand new catskin leather interior is a great way to improve the look and comfort of your interior. Plus you can customize it to make it your own. But over time, your new leather interior can start to show some wear. Now we're asked all the time about the best way to care for leather upholstery in a vehicle. So naturally we asked our friends at Catskin, who now offers leather in over 3,000 vehicle applications, and they recommended Mother's Polish. Motorz recently introduced a new line of leather car care products called LeatherTech. Now before conditioning your leather, you've got to give it a deep cleaning. Motorz foaming wash is specifically formulated to maintain your leather's hydration level, preventing premature drying. It penetrates and lifts away stains without leaving any residue, even if your leather is perforated, cracked, or has stitching. Now, after giving it a good wash with Motorz foaming wash, condition it with their LeatherTech Moisture Infusion Gel Cream. This will replenish the natural oils that are lost over time due to heat and sunlight. Motorz revolutionary Moisture Lock anti-aging defense system preserves your leather and prevents future drying, fading, and cracking. Now, both products are easy to use and the results are fantastic. Now, to get your custom leather interior that is cut, sewn, packed, and shipped from their manufacturing facility in California within 24 hours of receiving your order, go to catskin.com. And to learn more about Motorz polish, well, check out motorz.com. Now, Motorz has always shown you how to improve full-size vehicles. Accessories keep getting better and more abundant, and we get a kick out of playing with them. But what if you want to play around with something a little bit smaller, say 1/10 the size? Well, that's where RC4WD comes in. The RC market has exploded lately with newer technologies that make building and owning one of these things a lot of fun. Now, here on my workbench is the Trail Finder 2. You can buy it as a kit to assemble, or for a little bit more, they'll assemble it for you. It has a real 2-speed selectable transmission, a 4-wheel drive drivetrain, a center-mounted realistic 4x4 transfer case, cast metal axles with lock differentials, a leaf spring suspension, and quality metal components throughout. It comes stock with billet aluminum, rebuildable and internally sprung shocks, stamped internal beadlock wheels with tough rock-grabbing mud tires, a molded fuel cell, and a ton of other things that you just have to see to believe. And just like the big boy toys, these little guys have a ton of different accessories to make it your own, like these Dick CPEC DC2 wheels and Mickey Thompson Baja MTZ tire replicas, which are just like the ones on our Motorz Craftsman F-150. Now build up your little monster at rc4wd.com or check out the parts page at our website for more information. Tinted windows are great. They help cool the interior during those hot summer days, and they protect your interior from harsh UV rays. But what about your dashboard? Well, that thing doesn't even stand a chance because you can't tint your windshield and it's horizontal, so there's no way for it to escape sunlight. And that's why over 30 years ago, the original dash mat was invented in, not surprisingly, Arizona. Now, since then, it has grown to be the most recognized and best-selling custom dash cover available. Not only does it protect your dash's surface from UV sun damage, but it also reduces windshield glare. Available in a variety of materials such as original soft fiber, rich velour, and a suede-like fabric, all shown here. They come in a variety of different colors, and they're all custom made to fit your dashboard using simple hook and loop fasteners. Here I am installing one on our 2010 Ford Mustang project vehicle. Just cut the fasteners to about 1 inch in length and spread them out around the outside of the dash mat. Clean your dash with isopropyl alcohol and press it on down. You can also customize your dash mat with logos or text to completely make it your own. Now, for more information on the original dash mat, velour mat, suede mat, or their many other different products, head on over to dashmat.com or check out the parts page at our website.
E3 Diamond Fire spark plugs are the most powerful spark plugs you can buy. They deliver a more complete fuel burn, more power, better economy, and reduced emissions. E3 Diamond Fire spark plugs at auto parts and lawn and garden stores everywhere.
Letters, brought to you by E3 Spark Plugs. Born to burn.
Well, hey there, welcome to the Season 5 finale. This is the 74th episode of Motorz TV. We're having so much fun, we're going to do another season. Season 6 is coming right up. Now, before we get to our letters, I want to remind you to check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/MotorzTV and follow us on Twitter too. We're at Motorz. Now, our first letter comes from Austin. He writes in and says, "Hey Chris, I love the show. My question is, how can I make my 2013 Mustang V6 more economical while adding performance?" Now, the easiest way to make a motor be more economical is to increase its ability to breathe, which means adding more performance parts to the motor, such as an exhaust, intake, and maybe a tune, depending on the car. That will help the motor take advantage of the ability to breathe better. Basically, the motor is an air pump, and the more air that you get in and out of the motor, the more performance you can get, which in turn can make the car more economical if you drive it with the economy in mind. Now, all that goes out the window, though, if you decide to drive it harder because of that added performance. Now I've got a question from Mike. He says, a patient who had mild polio has occasional slight difficulty placing her foot on the brake pedal when it's dark. She has an excellent driving record for the past 30 years. Are there any neon-type brake pedal covers that glow at night for better visibility inside the car? Great question, Mike. Now, the manufacturer Street Glow used to make some sport pedals that would glow in the dark, but I'm not sure if it would be sufficient for a safety feature for a car, as the phosphors embedded in the brake pedal material would need a power source to emit light, which is typically light, to charge themselves and glow. Now, to light up the pedal area, you might want to consider installing a low-power LED light system wired to the vehicle's headlights. And now our last letter comes from Ryan. He says, hey Chris, my 81 Corvette's trailing arms are starting to wear quite a bit. I hear they're pretty nasty to deal with. Do you have any tips before I get into this mess? Well, Ryan, there are manufacturers such as Duntov Motor Company that manufacture complete replacement spindle assemblies for your vehicle. Now, they suggest replacing the entire assembly, which includes the brake system, spindles, and bearings, which would make the job considerably easier. Now, their point is that you don't want to do all that work to replace a trailing arm and not replace the 30-year-old spindle components on a performance vehicle at the same time. Now, I'd like to thank Ryan and everybody else for sending in your letters. You guys get free E3 spark plugs for your ride. Find out more about their Diamond Fire technology or to see if they're available for your vehicle, just head on over to e3sparkplugs.com. Upgrading to an engine like this requires a lot of steps, and while we couldn't show you everything, we did show you as much as we could. Now, for that first 500-mile break-in period, you want to use a standard 10W30 motor oil, and then after that break-in period, you can use whatever motor oil you want. Now, I'd like to thank BluePrint Engines, Hedman Headers, Excess Power, and PerformanceParts.com for helping us out with this episode. For more information on BluePrint Engines, head on over to BluePrintEngines.com. And for more information on all the other products featured in this episode, just head on over to our website. We'll catch you next time on Motorz. As well as a fluid evacuator.
Colorful things!
Master
Colorful
disconnect
things!
set.
Now, since our stock 302 has over 200,000 miles on it, the parts on it are kind of worn out or just need to be replaced.
Now, for our engine swap, you're going to need and air tools and a whole bunch of common tools that Olivia's got. What do you got? Let's do that again. What do you got? What do you got? What do you got?